my guest, she was on a second ago. Let's see where she went. Let's see where, her name is Paige Gaines. So she's gonna talk a lot about mental health. What is this? This is Recovery Month. If you don't know what really recovery is, I mean, recovery spans across a lot of spectrums. It's really broad, man. But people think, oh, you're in recovery, you have to be recovering from drugs, alcohol. It's much deeper than that. You can be recovering from depression. You can be recovering from grief. You can be recovering from injury. That's still recovery, right? So we're enjoying Recovery Month. This is Meatless September for me as well. I've been vegetarian, vegan a few times. I'm contemplating sticking to it, but I want people to join me on this journey. What's up, brother? Corey just joined in. I'm trying to see where Miss Paige Gaines is. I really want her to get on here and let's talk. There she is. So I'm about to bring on Paige, and we're about to talk for a minute. We're about to wrap. Let's go. I saw my guy George checking in. He's all the way in Mexico somewhere. What's good? Hey.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy it's Friday and it's
Yeah.
pretty outside, so I'm good.
I wish I could say the same, but I've already made commitments to my kids for the whole weekend, so it's not like I'm about to have a break. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So, but let me introduce you, Miss Paige Gaines. It's so wonderful to have you here to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but you know, my platform is about mental health. It's about wellness and health overall. But it's also talking about your motivation. Many people don't know the prime theory of motivation. It really talks about what motivates people to do whatever they do, to either become entrepreneurs, to serve in the community, to do whatever you do. What is your motivation? And I've watched your story for a while, and I've really been inspired.
Thank you.
And just like me, you know, I've dealt with depression, I've dealt with substance abuse, I've dealt with a lot, but it takes another type of person to really come to the forefront and speak their truth and talk about what they've been through. So I'll let you, I couldn't do you justice by really telling your story. I want you to just tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. So my name is Paige Gaines, also known as Sane Jane. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I live with bipolar disorder. About, 8 years ago, I was 22 years old, and I was given that diagnosis. And the biggest thing that stood out was that nobody really looked like me. There were no resources that looked like me. There was no real conversation in my family or in our community about mental health. So I just decided to be that resource and decided to share my story for those that were going through similar challenges. So that's where Sane Jane came out, and I've just been running with it ever since. I love doing it. Being able to help the community is really what motivates me. So that's just a brief tidbit about me.
So you said the community motivates you. I know it's more to it. What else motivates you to keep going and to keep doing what you do?
Oh man, my own personal health. I feel as if that it encourages me to stay well, to tell my story. Knowing that I do have people looking up to me. That's not really what my motivation was to have somebody look up to me, but knowing that I am a figure now, it's definitely motivating to know that I'm helping somebody else and my story is important. So it encourages me to stay well. So yeah, my health.
Well, one thing they say in the recovery world is if you don't give it away, you lose it. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, if you don't give away your gift, you'll never keep it, rather. And that's something I stick by. You know, if at first I didn't understand it, but it was like if I don't keep telling my story, if I don't keep it's not just a reminder to everybody else, a reminder to myself about what I've been through, where I've come, and I have to keep telling my story in order to keep my sanity, in order to keep my sobriety, and to stay well, especially mentally. Um, that was really big for me. So I want to know, because I don't know everything about bipolar disorder. What are some key things you would want people to know, and more specifically, our people, our community, because, you know, we shy away from really dealing with mental health and dealing with health outside of going to the gym and things like that. What do you want people to know?
I guess the first thing I would like to say before I even get into details is that we use that term very casually. So living in Georgia, the weather changes like this. One moment it's cold, the next moment it's hot. So I often hear or see people saying like the weather's so bipolar. That's not the proper description of what the disorder looks like, so to say. So making it so black and white is absolutely incorrect. So the truth behind the matter is, I love to explain it like you have your highs and you have your lows. So I don't know if you did this as a kid, but jumping on the bed was one of my best childhood memories. And just the thought of being free and elated was similar to a high for me. And then if you could imagine just weeks or months later, you fall into that low of that depression. And now you're under that very same bed in darkness and then sadness and just feeling lonely and helpless. So it's extreme highs, which could be creativity, um, gosh, it could be hypersexuality, it could be a lot of shopping, it could be just blowing your credit cards up, it could be anger outbursts, it can be a like various of things. And then you have those lows to where me personally, I sleep a lot. And then I become extremely irritable. I don't have interest to do anything. So you just have a high of mania and then the low of depression. And there are more details and you can get more complicated, but that's just the basics. So yeah, just jumping on that bed and then being under that bed. It's just a visual I like to paint.
Yeah, and it's a very thin line when it comes to diagnosis too. I mean, when I was, you know, they gave me a whole bunch of different diagnoses going through the things I went through, and they came to depression. And I questioned it for the longest because I'm like, how am I depressed? What have I done besides you asking me questions in the last hour? What gave it away, or what made you think I'm depressed? And I still sometimes fight with it. But what have been some of your struggles, especially dealing with it on the health side, like medically, or dealing with people who are trying to they kind of have your fate in their hands when it comes to these diagnoses? What's been the struggles for you?
Um, Gosh, so in the beginning, I was actually, my diagnosis changed to just depression.
Hmm.
And that nearly killed me because I was on medication. So I was being treated for one end and not the other, which is extremely dangerous when it comes to bipolar disorder. So I had that struggle. I continue to struggle with medication management. I continue to struggle with finding doctors who, again, they looked like me. I like to point out the fact that you're not just educating that individual, you have to educate their family as well. And that connection was missing. So the lack of language, the lack of understanding for our culture and for the ignorant spaces around mental health, those were big challenges. So being able to overcome the disconnect between, gosh, just the process and my family and my support system definitely turned things around for me. So my biggest challenge was finding culturally competent providers. Yeah.
And do in your experience, do a lot of them look like us? 'Cause
No.
that's a whole nother barrier. People don't understand our triggers. They don't understand our trauma. They don't understand a lot culturally that we go through, and that's a problem. So, you know, I'm always pushing for the young kids and the people that we mentor. They need to go into some of these fields and really investigate what it is, because we have the knowledge. It would be so advantageous for us to really get in these fields and help a lot of us who are struggling, who don't have the people to go to, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Big time.
Yeah. So let's go on to a lighter side. You know,
Okay.
what are some of the fun things you do to relieve stress or to reach that wellness? Because I'm opening a wellness center, so I'm gonna offer hot yoga, saunas, personal training, you know, retreats, things of that nature. But I want to know what are some of the things you do for fun, or to, you know, to not get or to try to hide what's going on, but to try to up your mood or to get you energy.
Absolutely. So I haven't painted in a long time, but painting is a great activity. Anything that you can do with your hands, it releases anxiety, it helps your mood. It kind of changes your focus from a negative to just something peaceful and calm. So I learned that a few years ago. So painting was something that I picked up that was super cool. I'm not the best painter, but I do hang my pictures up in my house. I just moved, so I don't have anything up right now, but I'm proud of my artwork. But in addition to that, I meditate and I do a lot of writing, and then a lot of reading. So anything I can do to exercise my brain. I actually was just coming out of depression, and I recognized that I'm like, oh, I need to add some extra things to my wellness plan. So I started reading more and I started writing more. My mood lifted almost immediately. So just being able to recognize those triggers and implementing new things and old things, I'm definitely a fan of. I started yoga. I'm off and on, so I'm not consistent, but that's a goal too.
Oh, we got to get you out here when we get ready, especially with the instructors and things I have. But a big thing for me, and I've been going through my ups and downs, but people understanding how to sit still. So many people are uncomfortable in their own skin, and that's something I've had to start doing because I'm on the go 24/7. But when I sit still, and I probably come up with so many ideas, they probably won't come to fruition. But I've come up with so many things in my mind just sitting still, and I've been able to forgive myself. I've been able to forgive others just in my own space, just sitting still. I know that doesn't sound fun, but I have fun by myself.
No, that's the truth. I mean, I get that out of meditating.
Mhm.
The power of it, I don't think people, because I hear a lot of people like, oh, I don't like to meditate, it's not for me. But I think we put a lot of restrictions around what it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
But you can really make it into whatever you want it. If you want a candle, cool. If you don't, cool. If you want music, just do your own thing. But finding that place of stillness is really good for your brain. It's great for your mood. And it just makes you comfortable in yourself. And like you said, you're allowed to forgive yourself, which is very powerful as well.
So, what does optimal health look like to you? What in what state, like what's going on in your life when you say I'm in the best shape, I'm doing the best me? What does that look like?
Mentally or all together?
All of it.
Okay. So mentally, I am aware of my triggers and I'm aware of my symptoms. They're not completely removed, but I'm definitely aware of what's going on. Therefore, I can cope and it doesn't spiral. So that's definitely my peak of I'm really healthy. I have not even had an episode, gosh, in a few years. So I'm very proud of that. So being able to say that is a big deal. Now, a new space of my wellness life that I'm working on is just food and fitness. It's a challenge for me. It's something that I'm learning and I'm having to implement on a daily basis and create that discipline. But I just think overall wellness and peace comes from not just your mental, but your physical, your spiritual, your emotional, all those different things. So, yeah, mentally very strong, emotionally really strong, spiritually, I'm just working on that physical aspect, that little piece of the puzzle, and I'll be good.
So I'm gonna ask you, are you gonna join our meatless September? I don't know if you see me posting it, but we're doing
Sure.
meatless this month. You gonna join
I
us?
would I would like to attempt and try.
Okay. You
I
gotta see
did
the
see it though.
You got to see the last recipe I put up. Everybody thinks it's the craziest thing in the world, but it's sweet potatoes with olives, arugula, sun-dried tomatoes, and guacamole. That doesn't
That
sound
sounds
like it
good.
makes sense. Oh, it
It
sounds good
sounds
to you?
good. Yeah,
No.
actually.
Most people, even to me, it sounded weird until I finally ate it. But
No,
it's
that
really
sounds
good.
good.
But I hope you join us for that. But yeah, we don't want to go too long on the live because I do want to invite you to go to be a part of my podcast, which will give us a lot more time to discuss and lay things out. But is there something you want people, your audience, to know about yourself particularly? Something they don't know?
I still have my hard days. I
Hmm.
always get people like, oh my God, everything just seems like you have it all together. And I really don't, like, not even in the least bit. I take care of myself, but I work really hard. In doing so, I reap the benefits of it. but I still do have my downs. I still have my mania. I still have my depression. I still have my anxiety. So don't let it fool you. I am not all together all the time. I just put in a lot of effort to maintain. Um, so yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I'll say. Just keep going.
So what do you have coming up? What do you want people to know? Some projects or just personally, what's some things going on?
So I'll be back on live next Sunday at 7 p.m. So go to my page for that. It's Suicide Prevention Month. So we'll be discussing that in the Black community and, just really going through a good conversation, talking some numbers, some tips on how to help somebody or how to help yourself, to be honest, and go over some resources. And then I'll be doing a panel with Silence the Shame on September 22nd at 12:30 p.m. That's a Wednesday. Again, Suicide Prevention Month, which is always super busy. So those are the two biggest things that are coming up. I have a few projects. I can't talk about them necessarily right now, but before the year is out, you'll see it. I'll definitely talk about it on the podcast. More than likely, I'll be able to.
And I think that's where I first met you, with Silence the Shame. And
Yeah.
that's something else, Shanti Das, I've known for the longest. I've been able to watch what she's done, and she's coming to her own. But I feel like, we're a little a different generation. So my question is, how are we gonna grab our generation and the ones younger than us and not make them, but hopefully get them to open up and really talk about what goes on in our community, what goes on with mental health, physical health, just overall wellness. I feel like you're key to it. Hopefully we work together outside of live and get on some projects, but how do we grab our generation and the ones younger than us to make them really open up?
I believe the power of a story and the power of being transparent is key to everything. I just did a speaking engagement in Alabama a few weeks ago, and I shared my story, and I had two women come up to me and they said, I have a daughter that's going through the very same thing that you talked about at that age, and I have a niece that's going through the very same thing. So it wasn't directly towards that. I didn't talk directly to that age group, but that relatability and that sharing of the story of, like, I was 10, I was 11, I was 12, I was 16, just sharing that part of my life definitely makes that connection. So being transparent, being vulnerable, I definitely believe it like connects us. And I don't know, just the power, I'm sure the power of a story goes a long way. It's gotten me to where I am, and I'm super grateful for it. But to connect with that age group is being open and understanding and then sharing our story.
Definitely. But we got a lot of work to do. A lot of
Yeah.
days, not the most glorious thing to be dealing
Yeah.
with mental and physical health, but it's got to be done.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you. Last thing, just to let everybody know how they can reach you, how they can find you. Please let everybody know.
Of course. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, 911 Sane Jane. My website is 911sanejane.com. Email is SJ, again, at 911sanejane. So everything is consistent. So follow me, reach out if you want to DM me, if you want to work together, please do so. I'm definitely open to collaborating and just having small talk. So that's where I'm at.
Dope, dope. Well, I really appreciate it. On behalf of myself and Prime Theory, we salute you. We thank you.
You.
And keep on pushing. I know you will. I don't have to tell you that, but good luck in everything that you're doing.
All right. Thank you. You have a good weekend.
You too.